With the rise of remote work, traveling for business, or just traveling for vacation, staying safe and secure online is crucial. In this video, I'm going to dive into the features of the WAVLINK AX3000 VPN travel router and how it's going to become an essential device in your travel bag. Let's get into it. All right, everybody, as I said in the intro, we're going to take a look at this bad boy. Come on, camera. There we go. The WAVLINK AX3000 Wi-Fi 6 VPN travel router. So I travel for vacation and go to conventions and stuff like TwitchCon, etc. And anytime I'm in a hotel, I use the Wi-Fi, but I don't connect my devices to the hotel Wi-Fi. Because that's an open network, you know, with other devices on there from the hotel, I like to have my own private little network. There's, you know, multiple things you can do. But for me specifically, I like to always travel with a travel router if I'm able to, and have it set up to where all of my devices, including my wife's devices, just automatically connect to it. We have a safe, secure network. We can do VPN capabilities and we're good to go. So with that out of the way, I want to note real quick, this is going to be unboxing and going through the specs and the features of the device. We're not doing a review. I don't do reviews on the channel. I like to take a look at devices, showcase them to you, and then you can make your decision based on that if you wish. Now that we have that out of the way, let's get to unboxing. Here we got the box. Like I said, it's the WAVLINK AX3000 Wi-Fi 6 VPN travel router. Built-in cooling fan that's nice and quiet. It's got multi-WAN if for some reason you needed that. We have VPN client and server, which is amazing. And then AdGuard Home built-in capabilities there. On the back, talks about specifics of the device, dual band, compact router. We have Wi-Fi 6 speeds up to 3000 megabits, and then different supports VPN, access your home or office from anywhere, supports AdGuard Home, as we just kind of talked about. It's free open source. I use that sometimes at home in my home lab to do, you know, ad blocking, etc. USB-C powered, which is really cool. I'll show you something there in a little bit. And then the multi-WAN support is you can have it do failover or load balancing if you so wish. And then it talks about what's in the box. But let's go ahead and crack open the box. Let's see what's we got in here. So inside the box, we have the device. It had a power supply, USB-C power supply, and then it also had a network cable and some documentation. You know what a USB cable looks like, USB-C cable, you know what a power brick looks like, you know what a network cable looks like. Let's take a look at the router here so we can get into the meat of the video and really kind of dig into the features. So we have the WAVLINK logo on top. We have cutouts here. I'm guessing that's for probably the cooling fan. Right here on the front, that's going to be most likely an LED light for power, status, antenna. We'll flip those up here in a second, look at those. And then on the back, we have a USB 3.0 port, so you can plug in a USB thumbstick or USB drive if you want and have like a little kind of mini NAS, if you will, while you're traveling. You have a LAN port and a WAN port. The WAN port, obviously, if you have available to plug that into the router or whatever is providing your internet access. At some hotels, they give you a plug-in. Most hotels nowadays don't. So, you know, there's that. And then you have a LAN port. So if for some reason you need to plug a computer in or something, you can plug that in. And then the USB-C power. Let's talk about the USB-C power really quick. Like I said, it does come with the power brick and a USB-C connection. Plug in, power's on. What I really like about these is I travel with USB-C cables, and that's because our phones are USB-C. Most of my devices are. Even my laptop is, you know, can be powered via USB-C. Generally, when I travel, I just take a single power brick that has multiple connections on it. And literally what you can do is just plug this device into that and you power it on. What's really cool is for some reason, if you're kind of in an emergent situation and you don't have access to power or the power is out, you can plug this into a battery power bank. So something that you would usually charge your phone on the go, if you don't have access to a power plug, you can plug this into it and it would power this. So you don't even need actual shore power, you know, to plug in to something to power this. You can put it into a power bank. On the side here, if we flip up the antennas, we have just a reset button on one side. On this side, we have a slider here, and the slider has two options. We will look at what those do in the software. Oftentimes, these are to enable or disable VPN, like the server. It could also enable, disable, like let's say AdGuard. It all depends on what's in the software, what it's going to allow us to do. Let's go ahead and get this plugged in and connect our machine to it and look at the software and the settings. We have the device plugged into our network and we are connected to it via wireless right now. You can do a couple things. You can download the WAVLINK Router app for your mobile device and configure stuff via that. Or if you go to the default IP address, which is 192.168.20.1, you can access it there. On the bottom of the router, there should be some information on connectivity as well. So here we are, we'll go ahead and experience now. On this screen, we go ahead and enter in our personal information. So our country / region, time zone. If you want to do dual band convergence, what that means is if you want both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz broadband networks to be under a single SSID, you can do that. If you disable that, you'll configure the 2.4 and the 5 gig on their own. We're going to keep them the same. And then here is where you'll type in what you want your Wi-Fi network to be called. Type that in, type your password in for it there, and then go ahead and click save. What you'll do here is it says it's going to set your Wi-Fi up with the new information and restart the router. Once it does that, go ahead and connect your device to your new network name, type in your password, come back to the router, and we'll go from there. Here we are logged into the main configuration screen. We have a whole lot of nice information here. We'll start at the top and work our way down. So I called my SSID or my Wi-Fi name Havoc Travel. We have option to do, it looks like a couple more here. Those might be our guest network. We'll take a look at that in the Wi-Fi settings. We have our WAN connectivity. We are connected via a WAN cable. It just talks about what our WAN address is. If we're doing repeater mode, which we are not, and then our client list, which is just my machine I'm connected to right now, or a guest list if we have a guest network. On the right side here, our status, our internet is connected. We are multi-WAN. We are set to failover mode, but we don't actually have it set up, but it just tells you what mode it is right now. The wired is in use, and then VPN. So we have no server is on, no clients are on. You can click settings here to go do that. We're not going to do that yet. And then USB status, if there's something connected to it, settings, we're not going to do that. So at the top right, let's go to wireless. And we can see here, again, if we wanted to combine the two together, we're going to keep that. I showed you what it did earlier if we didn't. If you need to set different options or configurations for your different band of networks, you can do that under advanced. And then under schedule, if you wanted to have specific rules of stuff gets blocked on this network between this time, or whatever. So kind of sort of parental controls, I guess, kind of a way around there. We'll click on network up there, top right. We are in DHCP mode. We can go into, static, PPOE. That's really just however you're setting up the actual internet side or the WAN side of the device. So if you're probably not in this case, but if for some reason you're using this as your main router at home and you have a static IP, you can set that up here. You're pretty much always going to leave it in DHCP, especially for travel. Under advanced, you can set up VLANs, custom DNS, MAC clone, etc. if you needed to. For this example, we don't need to do any of that. Clients, like I said, I just showed myself. We can block the internet from my client if we wanted to. If there are offline clients, so any client that's connected to the device recently, but it's not online, they'll show up there. And we can change the name of this if we wanted to, this device. Let's go to more and see what our options there. So our system info, we're in router mode, tells you the firmware version, how long it's been up, our WAN settings, our Wi-Fi settings, network. This is where we get into the real meat of things to really do configurations. We talked about the WAN type. LAN, we're doing DHCP, and we set up a DHCP server. So anytime a client connects to this device will give it an IP address. You can enable or disable that here. This is also where you change the IP address to this device. So if you don't want it to be 20.1, you can change that info there. IP6, if you want to enable that. We talked about the static address. Dynamic DNS, you're not going to need that for this most cases because you're not using this as a firewall kind of for like server access, but if you needed to, you could set that up here. This is where we set our different modes. So like I said, we're in router mode. We can do AP mode and repeater mode. Most of the time, you'll probably be in repeater mode. And what that is going to do, like it says over here, I'll highlight it. So in repeater mode or bridge mode, this mode can relay any wireless network signal, but does not have a DHCP service function. IP is managed by the upper device. Select the wireless signal you want to relay, enter the password. So there's a bunch of different stuff you can do with this. So, like I said, we're in router mode. Convert the wired network of the network provider into a Wi-Fi signal. AP mode, when extending an access point, important to ensure that the WAN port of the device is connected to via internet cable. So take a look through these and see what mode that you're probably going to set up for yourself. If we do repeater mode, and then what is WISP? WISP is a wired local area network. Operators can relay any wireless signal. This mode has DHCP service functions as in different network segments with superior devices. So what this is probably what we're most likely going to do most of the time is repeater mode and then in WISP mode. And that should allow us to connect to a wireless network and create our own little personalized network. We're going to keep it in router mode just because that's what we're in right now. Wireless repeater, read through that if you need to extend a device. Multi-WAN if you want to set up failover or load balancing if you have multiple internet connections. And then URL filter we can set up to restrict specific domains or keywords from specific devices. We talked about our wireless network. Here's where we can set up a guest network. That's going to allow people to connect to this guest network and not be put on the same network as our main network. It's isolated. So that's something you'll do if you have company coming over or something like that. And then a parental control network. How's Net Guardian? We have a DNS, secure DNS, AdGuard Home. This is going to be our manage page. We can take a look at that in a little bit. We'll save and see what this does here. Router will shut down other DNS service. Let's go ahead and cancel that for now. I don't want it to shut anything down yet. NAT forwarding, port forwarding. This is all if you're going to use it as a firewall to put stuff behind it like servers and stuff and you want to give people access. Probably not going to do that with this because it's a travel router. Security, firewall. You can block pings, block port scannings, enable DDoS attack to block those. We'll come back to USB or VPN. USB, we can do a storage tether server. So if you plug in a drive into it, it can act as a storage server or, USB tethering. If you need to do some sort of a Verizon stick or something that's via USB, you can put that there for connectivity. Remote access, if you want to give remote access to this device, we don't. Different net tools, diagnostics, pings, Wake on LAN. If you have something enabled for Wake on LAN, you can do that. Our system, we have firmware upgrade. We can check for a firmware version. Let's see how we're looking here. If there is one, I'm not going to update it right now, but there isn't one, so that's okay. We can change our admin password. We have syslogs here if you want to see what's going on. We can change our time zone. There's an LED light on the front. We can turn that off if we don't want it. Restore factory settings. I don't want to do that yet. We can schedule reboots. So if you want this to reboot at specific time each week, etc., you can do that. Back here to our mode switch. So this is what we're talking about on the side. Let's come back to that in just a second. We have developer options, so we can SSH into it. So if you know Linux command line stuff, we can access that if you want to do some stuff in there. We have Lucy access and then log out. Before we go into the mode switch, let's go back to VPN, an open VPN client or WireGuard. What's really cool about this is if you have a VPN provider, so let's say you're using something like I do, private internet access, PIA will give you a configuration file to connect to a specific server or in a specific region, let's say. You can add that file to this server or to this device, and this device will automatically connect to that VPN server, and anything that you have connected to this WaveLink device will automatically go through the VPN. You don't have to set up VPN on every one of your individual devices. So this is really great if you're traveling, let's say for example, on vacation in Mexico, and you want to be able to watch maybe some shows or something that are region blocked Mexico, but they're not in the US. You can set this up to connect to a US VPN server, and you'll get access to that stuff on Netflix or whatever because it thinks you're coming from the US, even though you're not. The same thing, if for some reason your work wants you to VPN and they give you the option like a configuration file, via like OpenVPN, you can add that here, and this will turn this little device into kind of your own office that automatically connects to your work's central office, let's say. You don't want to do that while you're traveling unless it's business, but if you're on vacation, you don't want to do that. That's the cool thing about this, and how I will use it is just having the ability to have a VPN that I can click on and it automatically connects to something in the US. Or another example is I have a video on it on how to kind of get past some YouTube ads. So YouTube doesn't serve ads in Albania. So if you connect your machine to VPN server in Albania, you can then watch YouTube and you won't have ads because they don't serve ads in Albania. So kind of a little side trick there for you. That's what's really cool about this. And I have another video that will go through how to set up VPN on this travel router using private internet access. This will also give you the option to, I believe, set up a VPN client on your machine and allow you to VPN into this device. I don't necessarily see that being used on this specific device just because it's really kind of meant for travel, but it's pretty cool that that is an option for, that'll allow you to do that. So we have the server. Let's look at the client here. So here is where you'll upload your OP or OVPN file. You'll get that from your VPN provider server. This is all like your current WAN IP is private network. This is all the setup stuff you can do for a server, or if you're not using OpenVPN, you can do WireGuard, client or server, VPN client. Let's turn that on. So this has what kind of access you want. And I believe it will allow you to connect this to a different VPN server, like at your work or whatever. And then you have zero tier, which is another provides simple, secure, efficient way for users to create their own VPNs between devices and geographies. That's really cool there. I would set up the VPN client. I don't think it's the server. Yeah, it's going to be the client. You'll set up a client here. You'll get the file from your VPN provider. Like I said, mine, private internet access. You can take a look in the description below. I'll have a link to that where you can save some money as well. I've been using it for years. They're awesome. They have a 0 log policy, which is amazing. I use it all the time when I travel, just an extra kind of secure encrypted way to use the internet. Especially like, even if you're just using it like on your phone, you have like the client you put on your phone, you connect that for like you're in the airport or something. It's just an extra way to be safe. You can never be too safe these days, right? So if we go over here, back down to system, and then the mode switch, that was kind of hard to see with my big head in the way there. This is that button on the side I showed you where we flipped up the antenna. And what we can do here is there's different functions. So we can set it to slide it to the right. This is for LED. So if we slide the button to the right, it will turn the LED on. If we slide it to the left, it'll turn the LED off. This is where I think the really cool settings are. So if we set this to OpenVPN or WireGuard, what this will do is if we slide this button to the right, it'll connect our VPN. If we slide it to the left, it'll turn off the VPN. So we don't have to come into the software, go to VPN, go to the client and enable or disable it here. All we have to do is on the side of the router, is slide the button to turn it on, slide it to turn it off. That's really clutch, especially if for some reason you're not able to access something due to the VPN. So let's say you have the VPN on, you're traveling, you're surfing the internet, etc., blah, 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 blah. You need to connect to your work for something. Well, your work probably also has a VPN and you're not going to VPN through a VPN. You're asking for, a headache. So then you'll want to just slide this over, disable the VPN. So then you can connect like your software VPN to get into your work's environment. So really cool setup. I love that feature. I think every router should have that, regardless if it's travel or home. It's a really, really great feature. And there you have it. That is the WAVLINK Travel Router. I know it's a little longer video. We went through all the settings and kind of explained what they do. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them. If you want to pick this device up, I'll put a link to it down in the description below, as well as in the first pinned comment. It's really awesome to see WAVLINK get into the travel router space. I love how small these things are and how you can just power them via a USB-C cable. It's really, really amazing. And you know, the cherry on top of the cake, if you will, is that slider button on the side for me. I love how you can just turn on and turn off, you know, your VPN connection, just as simple as that. And you don't have to get into the actual device, turn that off. It'll just, all you do is slide that button over. So great work on that, my friends over at WAVLINK. Again, if you have any questions, comments, you know, feedback, let me know in the comments below. I really appreciate it. And until next time, stay safe, have fun, and keep doing good.